All right. Good deal. Good morning. PT on Ice Daily Show. Dr. Jeff Moore here, currently serving as the CEO of ICE and lead faculty for cervical and lumbar spine divisions. Wonderful to see everybody on a Monday morning, on a Q&A Monday. Good to be here with you. So a couple things before we rock and roll. First and foremost, upcoming courses. Out of Network with Sarah Heron and Kate Blankshine starts today. So if you've been thinking about using this downtime to launch your own practice and you want to spend the next 8 weeks diving deep into that material and be ready to go, that would start today. We have 2 spots left, and if anybody wants to grab them, and then we'll rock and roll with that course. And then Virtual ICE also closes up today. So if you want to jump into our online virtual mentorship, today would be the day. A couple other online courses coming up: CMFA Essential Foundations and Advanced Concepts, both start at the end of the month, April 26, 27. And then Persistent Pain Comprehensive Management starts right at the beginning of May, I believe May 11th. So a whole bunch of online stuff coming up. If you want to jump into those courses, dive in, knock out your CEUs, and use whatever downtime you have remaining to dive into that content. All right, wonderful. So it's not Gut Check Thursday, so I don't have to bring that one up today. I will say that I hope a lot of you are in the Support Your Local box. CrossFit doing a wonderful thing there and running basically a mini open, 3 weeks long, a workout every week that everybody's doing in your whatever you want to donate. It's $20 as a standard, but that money goes to your local box. You know, we know that gym facilities and our fitness communities are taking a real hit along with everything else, but that might be one way that we can give a little bit. And if a lot of us give a little bit, we can keep everything rolling. So the workout was awesome. It was 10 air squats, 9 dumbbell snatches, 10 push-ups, 9 dumbbell snatches, other arm, and then repeat as many rounds as possible. I only had a 35, thank goodness. RX was 50, and I think I got 7 rounds plus 15. So anyhow, great workout, great times. Hey, what's up, Dave? Good to see you, man. So let's dive in. We had a bunch of awesome questions, and thank you so much for all the questions. There's been so many good ones that came through. So let me highlight 3 or 4 of them, and then we'll shelve the rest of them for next week. So I won't ask for new questions. We've got plenty from this week. So first and foremost, really good one, Tyler. Any suggestions on how I can really improve my soft skills? You know, we all know the tremendous importance of relationship building in soft skill development, but are there a couple hacks to that? Tyler, great question, man. The biggest thing I would encourage you to do is to allow yourself to become intensely curious about your patients, like authentically curious about the other human being. That's what really creates tremendous soft skills. So in some cases, you've got to let yourself get a little bit less formal and get away from checking the boxes of this is what I need to do, this is my flow, and just allow yourself to be honestly and authentically curious. The reason that works so well is it really helps you develop that next most important question, right? Of when somebody says something and then you respond and inquire for more information. When you have authentic curiosity rolling, it really helps that question show up, which is what makes the conversation a lot more natural. When you're actually just seriously curious about what is going on with this person, right? When you have that mindset, that curiosity, it drives the next questions, which really creates a lot of normalcy in the conversation as opposed to feeling so medical. Okay. It also does a lot of other things. It helps you maintain your evaluation lens on every treatment, right? As opposed to doing the evaluation on day 1 and then everything else becomes a follow-up and execution. If you have your authentic curiosity hat on, every time the patient comes back in, you're like, Jill, how did you do last time? Like, I'm so curious if we gave you the right dose, if we were right about what we prescribed. I'm so curious, how did you do? Anything change? Any questions you have? Again, that curiosity drives that ongoing evaluation. It really helps to clarify your clinical patterns because authentic curiosity is going to make you think things like, that's weird because last time I had a patient just like this, X happened, but here I'm not seeing that. I wonder what's different. I wonder what's going on. And again, it's those kind of things that create that feeling of caring. I've always thought that soft skills are greatly enhanced by caring. There's no question about that. But caring is best demonstrated by curiosity. When someone's really curious about how you're doing and how things are going, that's what gives you that feeling of being cared about. When you have that curiosity about your patients, it creates that emotion of caring, and caring drives most soft skills. It is the foundation of them. So that's my answer, Tyler. Let yourself be just naturally curious. And you're going to have to let yourself go out away from the navigational buoys. Like if you're somebody who has a really strict flow sheet of I do this and then I do this, you've got to let that soften a little bit once you have a good foundation down, because that's what allows your curiosity to let that conversation meander a bit. That's what creates the naturalness. That's what creates the ongoing evaluation. And that's what creates a feeling of caring for your patient. It truly is curiosity that drives most of soft skills. Think about that a bit, man. Hit me up. Great question. Another really good one. My best tips or cues for favorite exercises was the question. But I want to broaden it a little bit and just share with you 3 or 4 of my favorite things. But I will finish with my absolute favorite cue that I've ever gotten. I think the question was actually favorite cues for challenging movements or exercises. There was one in particular that I've got to tip my hat to. But a few things that I've heard over the past couple of years that really resonate with me in the fitness world, that really, really help me. One of them comes from my coach, Matt Fabrizio, over at CrossFit Endure, when we were doing 1 rep max testing. And I was getting real defeated pulling the weight from the floor, because I was going into power cleans and it just feels so heavy coming off the ground, So right away it comes off the ground and mentally I've already lost, because you give away that edge. And Matt said, dude, you got to stop thinking the weight's heavy and realize it's just going to move slow. It's not heavy. It just moves slow. That mental shift really helped me moving heavier loads because it gets rid of that feeling of defeated. Because when you walk up to the bar, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be so heavy. You're just thinking it's going to be the same movement, but it's going to happen a lot slower. Because I'm closer to my 1 rep max, this movement is going to be slower. And then when you go to pull the bar, it's slower, right? But that's expected. And so for some reason, that shift for me between thinking things were heavy and appreciating they're going to move a bit slower really made heavier loads more approachable. And so I found that one to be invaluable. One of my favorites that we laugh about all the time was the day that Mitch Babcock said to me, I was telling him about my CrossFit routine, and how often I'm scaling. And he kind of gave me the sideways look. And he's like, Jeff, it's not always bad to scale. But if you're always scaling, that's bad, right? Which we have now since shortened to when discussing scaling, not always bad, but bad if always. Right? Which is such a great and honest way to assess this idea of scaling weight, right? Because you get in the habit. This is the problem that Mitch was recognizing. You get in the habit of selling yourself short. It's a habit. You're just used to scaling. You're thinking, well, that's what I always do. I'm somebody who scales, right? What you need to start thinking whenever some weight is prescribed is, okay, this is what I used to do. I wonder what I could do today. As opposed to, this is what I always do. I think this is what I always do leads to mediocrity. This is what I used to do. I wonder what I should try today leads to advancement. So Mitch really helped me with that because he said it's fine to scale, right? But if you're always scaling, especially if you've been doing CrossFit for quite a while, there's probably a few things you're not giving yourself enough credit for. Let's make sure we're sending those. And that has really made me more critically evaluate every time something hits the board. Okay, I know what I used to do. How close is this? How do I feel today? Maybe I should send this because maybe last time I wasn't feeling 100%. If it's close, maybe it's a go today. So Mitch, I always appreciated that comment, and that's really helped me in the gym. My favorite single cue, though, and that was the question, comes from Alan Frenendal when he told me, you got to jump back. You got to jump back. And what we were talking about was trying to gain triple extension, which for everybody, myself included, is such a harrowing journey, right? Because it's so odd, this idea of literally jumping backwards, right? Because we're not used to having heavy things in front of us that counterbalance that. So it seems very counterintuitive to put yourself in that position. So very few of us go into that really nice arch position where we are way off the vertical, keeping that weight close to us, right? Space is weakness, right? And thinking about actually arching back to really get that weight moving vertically. So when Alan said, previously I had thought get tall, so jump up. But when Alan said jump back, that thought of going backwards really helped to open up my triple extension. And from there, I saw that when the barbell was kind of in the pocket around my hip, my torso was well off the vertical going backwards, and my weight increased significantly that day. So Alan, that was a wonderful cue. When searching for that triple extension, when trying to move those heavy loads, it's not just jump up or get tall, it's jump back and actually encourage that full triple extension. So that would be my overall single favorite cue, but wanted to share a few of them with you. Here's one I've gotten a bunch of times, but never actually brought up on the show, and that is best travel tips or advice. My life encounters a lot of travel. I think last year I had 43 weekends, so hundreds of legs of flights. But there are a few hacks to that in making travel go better. Sarah asked this question, and Sarah, the number one thing I would say is you've got to have two boxes. You've got to have your box that requires Wi-Fi, and you've got to have your box that doesn't, especially if you're going to start traveling into more remote areas where maybe your hotspot on your cell phone isn't going to work as well. So even then, if you're in the Uber, if you're transferring between locations, you can't get on that laptop and do really serious work because you don't have connectivity. You've got to have, before you leave for your trip, you've got to have items from your to-do list that don't require Wi-Fi, things that you're building, PowerPoints you're refining, things that don't need for you to be online. And then you've got to have things that require connectivity. And I would argue that this is what created a lot of stress early on, is that you never count on airplane Wi-Fi. I repeat, you never count on airplane Wi-Fi. So anything that has to be done absolutely needs to be accomplished within 2 hours of your plane landing in the destination that requires connectivity needs to be accomplished before you take your plane seat. Because once you're on that seat, right, you're hoping. Number one, depends how hard the stewardess is on you about you staying on the phone and staying linked in while you're parked at the gate. And then once you're in the air, up until 10,000 feet, you got nothing. And then you're hoping the Wi-Fi is decent. And then you have no idea how long that taxi and you getting into another area that has decent Wi-Fi is going to be. You got to have two boxes, and you got to organize your day around those boxes. So I think about that all the time. I can give you a bunch of hacks for that. Your favorite podcasts, set those for auto download for 2 or 3 episodes. So like I have Castbox, so I set all of my favorite podcasts to auto download 3 episodes. So that means even if I forget, because I'm busy, I'm running around the airport, when I sit in my plane seat, I've got at least 3 of my favorite episodes of my favorite podcasts auto downloaded that don't require Wi-Fi to listen to. So that's a guarantee that even in worst case scenario, you're going to be able to be somewhat productive once you're up in the air because you're engaging on your favorite content. So that might be one idea. But Sarah, that's a really big one, is that connectivity space. Another hack, for me anyhow, is always stay on the top floor of every hotel. So that's one strong recommendation or one request that I make is, can you please put me on the top floor? Because what I've learned about hotels is that somebody can be as loud as they want to be next to you. I can usually sleep through that no matter what. But if you've got a junior league hockey team above you and they're horsing around, that can destroy your night of sleep, right? And it's one thing to only get 3 or 4 hours. We can all play through that. But when you start getting 0, that becomes a bit of a grind that next day. So I think staying on the top floor of the hotel is absolutely clutch. And the further away from the elevator, the better, because people tend to congregate around that space, and that's where volume happens. Here's another one. Just know that you can charge your phone on your computer even when your computer's not plugged in. That seems small, but I see a lot of folks running around like desperately looking for a phone charger. As long as your computer has decent battery, and a lot of the ones now have a full day of battery, you can plug your phone into your computer when your computer's not plugged in. It'll charge your phone. So if that can be a hack for you when you're running out of battery life, obviously most of us carry a pack, but if you don't have one, that can really be helpful. My last one, does status matter? I get that question a lot, like as far as like airplane status and hotel status. Hotel status might matter to get that top room. So over time, that might be helpful. I don't think it matters for airlines besides comfort, if that's a big deal to you. But the one place I think it does matter is rental cars. I think rental car status is really important because the rental car lines are atrocious. So if you get gold status in whatever your rental car of choice might be, you can now easily walk right out to your car in the parking lot, grab the one you want, and get out of there. as opposed to waiting what can honestly be 45 minutes to an hour and 15 in that Hertz or in that budget rental line, which is a disaster for productivity. Because while you're all over your phone, you're not able to engage in a space that really good stuff gets done. If you're going to go for status anywhere, I think that when it comes to travel, rental cars is the most important one because that variable can be massive. All right. Last one. I'll just do one more. I'm already at 15 minutes. I know last time I really pushed my luck on this. Is the Maitland clinical reasoning model emphasized in ICE? And if so, how much? That's a great question. So full disclosure, I've never taken a Maitland course. So it's hard for me to answer that because I don't really know what those courses look like, but I have gotten a lot of content taught to me through fellowship and other classes that I have heard comes from the Maitland model. And if any of you have come to my spine courses, you will know that every single Saturday, no matter where I am in the country, I always start the class off with 2 quotes from Maitland. And one involves the importance of clinical reasoning over technique, that it's not just about technique, right? It's not just about manipulation, right? Number 2 is that the importance of reassessment. Right now, I believe that when the Maitland model was developed, the reassessment was really to give the practitioner guidance, right? That what you chose helped the patient. I did X, you reassess, the patient seems to be a bit better. That gives me information that the intervention I chose was valuable for the patient. As we've gone along and looked at the evidence and looked at patient interaction, looked at high-performing physios, we really believe it's about the patient. That when the patient sees the progress, not so much about you reassessing to confirm that you chose the right treatment, that's always helpful, but for the patient to say, oh my gosh, look at how much better I am, right? And to elevate that expectation, which as per Justin Dunaway is the foundation for an outstanding outcome, right? Those things, we probably twisted that a bit as far as emphasis, but that reassessment model maintains a really strong focus in what we do. Now, Michael asked the question. Michael, I will say that as we've gotten more and more fitness forward, I would argue that while we certainly continue to value the test-retest model, the entire concept behind that, there's no doubt that our lens and focus is now more on work capacity, inflammatory load, autonomic nervous system balance, maladaptive beliefs and fears, particularly once their pain is at least controllable or tolerable. So I would argue that those things are beginning to take a bit of a backseat as our focus and lens is shifting in a little bit different of a direction. But nonetheless, very important pieces of what we teach. I believe a lot of that came from the Maitland curriculum, although I've never formally taken one of those courses. All right, team, about 17, 18 minutes. We have so many questions left over that came in on PTAs looking to become PTs, on what I would do if I wasn't a PT. I can't wait to answer that one. On what students can do when they can't be at lab. So many, but let's save those for next week, and we'll hammer all of those on Monday. I hope all of you are staying healthy out there. It's going to be a hard week for the country. I hope everyone's staying healthy. Do what you can. Sleep well, eat well, fuel, take care of other people, connect. Reach out to those you're worried about. Let's bond together. Let's lock those shields. Got a tough week or two. Let's get after it. All right, team. Have an awesome Monday.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.